Now here we are continuing with example 2. So in this example we'll be looking at the equation of a straight line, which is this one. All right, now in this equation here, that m or a, these are the same values. They represent gradient. So that a here represents the gradient. Okay, so the gradient, which is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So and then c represent the y-intercept. That means x must be 0 for the value of c. So in this graph over here, you can see that this -5 here, it is the y-intercept. How do I know that? Because the value of x here, it is 0. So if the value of x is 0, that means this is the y-intercept. For example, here also, if now that x value over here, it is the x-intercept. How do you know that? Because the y value here, it is 0. If y is 0, that means x is the x-intercept, that one. Same applies here in the y. All right, so now let's try to determine the equation by using that is the first graph. In the first graph, now in the first graph, what are we going to do here is that we are going to solution number 1. So meaning that in the place of c in this equation, we can just write -5. So we can just do it in that way. So now let's try to find that is the gradient, the value of m in the equation. So you can say y is equal to mx plus c. So that means the gradient is going to be that is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then we can just number these what values of x and y. So we can say this is maybe x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2. We are doing this for the sake of getting the gradient, because the formula itself, it says y2 minus y1. So then that means we're going to substitute these values over here. So we said y2 is 7 minus y1 is -5. So we just put brackets, and then we continue and say that 2 minus 0. So that means now it's going to be 7 plus 5 on top, and then 2 minus 0, just 2. And then now we just work it out. So on top there's 7 plus 5, the answer is 12 divided by 2, meaning that the gradient is 6. So now that 6, we're going to plug it here. So in the place of m, we're going to put 6. So that means it says y is equal to 6x and then plus c. So it's easy to get the value of c, because I said the y-intercept, it represents the value of what? C. So we can just simply take -5 and we put -5 in the place of c. So we can just say therefore y is equal to -6 minus positive 6 x minus 5. So that is the equation in the first graph. So in the second one, so it's the same, because this point over here, it represents, that is the y-intercept. Therefore the y-intercept x is 0. That y-intercept, which is c. So that means in the first part, that is number 2, y is equal to mx plus c. So we set our y-intercept, which is the value of c. So we can just that means in this graph, in the place of c, we're gonna just say +3. Simple as that. And then now our duty is to find the value of m, so we can just use a gradient formula, and then we say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then we just number them like what we did here, and then we're gonna just do it here. We can just start from this side, y1 and y2, and then must x1 and x2, and then we say it must be x2 and y2, and then we substitute. So the y2 is 0 minus 3, and then x2 is 1 and 3 and 0, which is x2 over 1 minus 0, and then we've got -3 over 1, which is -3. So that means that negative we're gonna just plug in there. So we're going to say y is equal to -3x plus 3. And then you can also prove that because if the gradient is greater than 0, this is the slope. So the graph should be drawn of this kind. And then if m is less than 0, then the graph should be drawn of this kind. So look ours here. The first one, the gradient is positive. We've got 6, and then our shape is going that direction, so it's 100% correct. The second, our gradient is negative, so our shape, of course, so that means this is correct. So this is how you determine the equation of a straight line. Now let's look at example 3, and then in example 3 we'll be finding the equation of the parabolas in the form that is y is equal to a over x plus q. So let me just highlight a few things quickly. So q represent the horizontal asymptote, which is we talk about the dotted line, that is horizontal dotted lines, or let me just say line, because it's going to be just one. And then then we're going to solve for a, then I will show you. Now let's take a look of the first part over here. Now in the first one, we've got a point on the graph which is -2, which is x, and -6, which is y. And then if you do not see any dotted lines that are horizontal, you must know that it's quite likely that the value of q in this graph, it is 0 if you do not see any horizontal lines or dotted. Now so how do we then go about solving this one? Now in the first part, we want to determine the equation, that is a over x plus q, and then we're going to simply say q must be equal to 0 because there are no dotted line that is horizontal. There is no asymptote. There is no horizontal asymptote. In fact, it is 0. So, and then we continue by saying therefore a over ax plus 0. And then what we're going to do, we're going to just substitute with a point that is on the graph. So the point there is -2 is to -6. In the place of x, we put -2. In the place of y, we put -6. And then we solve for a. So we're going to just put -6 is equal to a over -2. So there's no need to write 0 because any number plus 0 is going to be that number. So from here, that -6 has the denominator of +1, then we cross multiply. So a times 1 is going to be a, and then 6 times 2 is going to be a +12, because negative times negative must be positive. So meaning that our equation now will say y is equal to 12 over x. That's all. So there's no need to add 0, please guys. Okay, so this is the equation of the first graph. Now let's look at the second one. Now in the second graph, we have the horizontal asymptote, which is q, and it is positive q. So we just in the place of q here, we're going to put positive 2, and then now the next step is to get the value of a by using the point on the graph. So simple as that. Now let's just quickly do that one. Number 2. So y is equal to a over x plus q, and that's what it says. And then we said our q value here, it is 2. So that means we'll say y is equal to a over x and then plus 2. And then the next step, guys, is to substitute the point on the graph. What is the point on the graph? It is 4:3. So we're going to put that is 4:3. So this one represents x and that one represents y. So we just substitute and then we get the value of a. So that means going to be 3 is equal to a over x 4 plus 2. Now what we're gonna do, the first step is to transpose 2 from the right hand side to the left hand side, and then don't forget to change the sign. So it must be 3 negative 2 and then a over 4, and then 3 minus 2 must be 1, and then a over 4. This is over, and then we just cross multiply, and then a times 1 must be a, and 1 times 4 must be 4. So that means our equation will say y is equal to, in the place of a, over here we want to put 4, so that must be 4 over x and then plus 2. So simple as that. Now let's look at the third one. So in the third one, we're doing the same, guys. In the place of the horizontal asymptote, we're going to put q. In the place of q, we're going to put 3, and then we just use the point on the graph in the place for the value of a. So say number 3, y is equal to a over x plus q. We set our q value is 3. So that means y is equal to a over x plus 3. The next step is to take the point on the graph, guys, which is 1:2. Then we just write here, we substitute 1:2. In the place of x we put 1, the place of y we put -2. It's always like that. So it's going to be -2 and then a over 1 plus 3. And then we transpose 3, become -2, -3 is equal to any number divided by 1, it will be that number. And then negative and negative we add, but we're going to end up having -5. So this is the value of a. And then we say therefore y is equal to -5 in the place of a over x and then plus 3. That is the equation, guys, that we were required to prove or to determine in this equation. So this is the first one. So these are the equations. Then now let's look at the exponential. In the example 4, we'll be determining the equation of the exponential. So what are we going to do here is that in the first one, which is this one, so we are going to in the place of q, like this one is the same as a hyperbola graph, so that q represent the horizontal asymptote, okay, which is now it is -4. So that means q is equal to -4. And then the next thing is to solve the value of a, which now we are going to substitute with -3. That is the coordinates here. It is 0 is to -3. Yeah, let me just write it in this way. So let's just try to look at the first part. So y is equal to a times 2 to the power x plus q. We said in the first question, that is the horizontal asymptote is -4. So that means the place of Q we're going to put a -4 like this. And the next step is to use this point over here, and then the place of X we're going to put 0, and the place of Y we're going to put -3, and then we solve the unknown. So in the place of Y we're going to put -3, and a times 2 to the power positive 0, -4, and then we just work it out. So we just drop -3, and then we're going to have a times any number raised to the power 0, it is 1, and then -4. We just take 4 to this side, and then we change the sign, negative, and then become plus. It must be a. So 4 minus 3, which is positive 1, which is equal to a. So therefore the equation now will say y is equal to it is 1 times 2 to the power x, and then -4. But there's no need to show that 1, so we can just write it as 2 to the power x -4. So this is the answer of the first one. Now in the second part, so we are again in the place of Q, we're going to put -1 because it is the horizontal asymptote. Now to get B, we're going to use the point on the graph, where in the place of X, we're going to put -1, and the place of Y we're going to put which is 2. So simple as that. Let's now try to attempt this one, -2. So number 2, y is equal to, this one says y is equal to just b to the power x. This equation are not the same, so you need to be careful here. So we're dealing with this one now. So in the place of Q, I'm going to put -1. Okay, so must be y is equal to b to the power x -1. That is the first step. And the second step is to use that point. Okay, so in the place of x, I'm going to put -1, and I'm going to put 2 in the place of y. So y is 2 and x is -1 -1, and then we just work it out. So we just transpose this one, so 2 plus 1, b to the power -1, and then it's going to be 3, and then b to the power -1. I want you guys to remember this. For example, if we've got 2 to the power -1 is the same as 1 over 2. X to the power -1 is the same as 1 over x. Okay, so it's always like that. So we're going to change now that b, so it must be 1 over b, and this is over 1, then we cross multiply. So b times 3 must be 3b, and then 1 times 1 must be just 1, then we divide by 3 in both sides. So therefore b is equal to 1 over 3. Let's also look at the shape. Yeah, for example, if b is less than 1 but bigger than 0, for example, if it is 1 over 2, 1 over 3, 1 over 4, this must be the shape. So now that means the graph will ascend to the left like this way. But if b is greater than 1, for example 2 or 3 or 4, then the graph will ascend to the right like this way, which is, for example, the first graph like this one here. B over here is 2, all right, but here the b is a fraction, so we'll start from this side and then go to the other side. So yeah, we're done now in the second part. So we just say therefore y is equal to in the place of b, so it says b to the power x, so we're gonna just say b must be 1 over 3, 1 over 3, and then to the power x, and then must be -1. That is the asymptote. So this is the equation. Now let's go to number 3. Number 3 for the negative b again, guys. In the place of the horizontal asymptote, we're going to put q, or in the place of q, we're going to put 3. Okay, And then now we're going to use this point. Remember, if now there's 1 here, that means the point it must be 1 is to 0. So this is x, this is 1 is y. So let's begin by substituting 3 the place of q. Y is equal to negative b to the power x and then plus q. So it said must be b, negative b, and then must be plus 3. That is q value. The next step is to use the point on the graph, which is 1 is to 0. And then in the place of 0, on the place of y, we're going to put 0. And the place of x, we're going to put 1 plus 3. The next step is to transpose 3, or is to transpose b, any of the two. So let's take b. So b to the other side become positive, because now b is negative, and then we're left with 3 on the right hand side. Therefore the value of b is 3. Therefore the graph now will say y is equal to negative 3 to the power x plus 3. And then if now a is negative, so the graph must be drawn of this kind. And then if a is positive, the graph will be like this one. Okay, so now we're done with this one. Now let's do the last one. So in the last one, we don't know q, b, and a, everything. But with q, it is the horizontal asymptote. But if we do not see any dotted line like this, we must bear in mind, we must bear in mind that, I'm just trying to redraw this. We must bear in mind that this is, the value of q is 0, simple as that. So this is the y-intercept, so x there is 0. So that means q is not 0. So number 4, y is equal to a times b to the power x and then plus 0, because we don't see any dotted lines horizontal. And then the next step is to use the y-intercept first, and then we use the y-intercept. So our intercept now says x is 0, y is 3. So in the place of x here, I'm going to put 0. In the place of y, I'm going to put 3. And then we solve for a. And then so it's going to be 3 and a times b to the power 0. I don't want to waste time dropping 0 there. Let me just leave that part like that. So we're going to have 3 is equal to a times, and then any number raised to the power 0, it is 1. So that means the value of a is 3. So we've got a now. So our graph now, it is 3 times b to the power x, and then yeah, just like that. The next step is to get the value of b. How do we then get the value of b? Definitely we're going to use another point on the graph, which is x and y. 2 is to 12. So in the place of y, I'm going to put 12. In the place of x, I'm going to put 2. And then we just divide both sides by 3. And then this must be 4b squared. And then the next step is to square root in both sides, so that we're going to have b, and then square root of 4, that is must be 2. So therefore the equation, I will say a is 3 times 2 to the power x. Simple as that. But we're not going to write plus 0 for q. No. There's absolutely no need. So we just, yeah, that is the answer. Now we are done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you understand now.